Eating to the earth.
What we saw yesterday, the Rebbe explained the machlokes. He told us about, he explained the machlokes, Chassidus, and the Rambam. But he explained the three different positions in the Rishonim regarding Spheres HaEmer, whether it's the Rice or the Rabbanan. Who holds what?
Someone holds the rice, and Rachem holds
Both.
Yeah, Bediuk, right? Writing things down helps. The Rambam holds the Raisa, Chassidus holds the Rabbanan. At some point we actually remember it, we don't have to see it written down, but the way we remember it at first is by writing it down and then looking at it, because we don't remember it if we see it once. Some people do. Most of us don't.
It's Rosh.
There are annoying people who hear something once and they just remember it forever, but what are you going to do?
It's a machlok at Rashi Tosfos.
Rambam. Right? And Rabbeinu Rucham. So Rabbeinu Rucham says counting days is the Raisa, and the Rebbe explained that's because that's what we can do. Because counting days is counting the expression of the subconscious midah in machshava, dibur, and ma'aseh, in thought, speech, and action. So that we can deal with and be successful with. It's difficult, but it's doable. Whereas the counting the weeks is relative to the midah itself, which is a subconscious state of reality. It's our emotional makeup underneath it all. Okay, so that I might not have the ability to change so completely. And simply in Tanya terms, what does that mean? Well, it's the difference between a tzaddik and a beinoni. A tzaddik is someone who has completely changed his subconscious reality. His nefesh habahamis is no longer something connected to self and connected to other things other than a Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's what tzaddik is. He lives elokus on his conscious reality constantly. Whereas the beinoni is someone who has the same hang-ups as everybody else relative to their connection to worldly matters, right? But is able to overcome that subconscious reality relative to conscious thought, speech, and action. So that if a negative thought emerges from the deep, dark recesses of the soul, right? So that negative impulse will be dismissed immediately by the beinoni. Right? It's not that it's not there; it's there. It just will be dismissed. The tzaddik, it's not there. Been dealt with. Okay. So now the Rebbe is going to explain, as we talked about yesterday, Beer Inyan his kalulus amidas echshakol midah midah klu mizayin. Now theoretically, we should be able to extrapolate from what the Rebbe says about the midah of chesed to every midah. It's very, very difficult to do that based on what the Rebbe says here. Right? That being said, yesterday we started somewhat of an introduction to the whole idea, and we'll go over the introduction again because we don't remember things if we hear them once, generally, right? And it also becomes clearer, hopefully, the second time. There are two different ways of describing the hiskalus of the midos shebamidos, right? We're going to talk first about the way the Rebbe doesn't do it, right? Okay, and then we'll talk about the way the Rebbe does do it, and then we'll see how the Rebbe does it. As we said yesterday, obviously the second midah in the equation is the ikr, right? So chesed shebechesed, the ikr is chesed, and this is some expression of chesed as a result of the more powerful force called chesed, or the more powerful reality called chesed. Okay, fine. So the ikr midah is always the second one. That makes sense, right? Because the whole week is the second midah. Chesed shebechesed, gvur shebechesed, tfer shebechesed. The whole week is chesed. Really, what you're talking about is chesed, and different expressions of chesed. Okay, so now, and this is the again in this mimer, in the mitler, in the mimer of the Rebbe Rashab, which is the source of this mimer, which was said in Taf Reish Nun Hey 130 years ago. Again, if you look in Taf Reish Nun Hey, if you find Sefer Maimarim Taf Reish Nun Hey and look in the table of contents, you won't find a mimer called Mashcheni. But if you look in the back of the book on what's called the Hoysafas, the additional printings of things said that year, some strange reason it was printed that way. I don't know why. You'll find the mimer Mashcheni, Tafresh Nun Hey, the Rebbe Rashab. And that's what this mimer is based on. As we said yesterday, I believe, maybe even earlier also, there is a mimer, which we don't have, unfortunately. There's no printing of this mimer. But the Frierdiker Rebbe mentions that the Mittler Rebbe said a mimer on all 49 days of Sphere Seder, explaining every midah as it's clothed in every midah, which would be an amazing thing to have. And it would probably take us about 6 months to learn, right? But it's probably 8 hours to say the mimer. Okay, to say but there is such a there is such a mimer. I don't know. That's interesting. There was such a mimer. I don't know whether there is such a mimer. So we don't have it, right? It was said, right? But we don't have it. There is no copy of that mimer. But the Frierdiker Rebbe does mention something very interesting. That the one of the things the Mittler Rebbe says is he explains Tiferes shebechesed as the joy one gets from giving stock. Now, Tiferes can be joy. What's Tiferes? Tiferes is, it's the mizug, it's the mixing together of chesed and gvura. We talked about that yesterday. Okay. But Tiferes is chesed is my feeling something positive towards you. But it's my feeling. Right? I'm feeling, we'll talk about love towards you. Okay. Right? Gevura is, I'm feeling, the Rebbe is going to talk about it in a rather stark way here, but the mead of Gevura is that I am feeling some state of truth relative to you. Because what's Gevura? Chesed might, we always say Chesed ve'emes, they're not the same. Right? Chesed is I give you something even if you don't deserve it, because you're a creep. But I'll give it to you anyway. Right? Truly, you don't deserve it. Right? But I'll do it anyway. That's chesed. Gevura is, I'll give you what you deserve. Right? So my relationship with you is based on, it's still my relationship with you, but it's based on the truth of your situation. Right? That's gevura. That's din. Do you deserve a punishment, or do you deserve clemency, or do you deserve reward? Okay, so that's gevura. Chesed is give you goodness. It might be bad for you. If al pi gevura, I might come to the conclusion that what you need is not chesed, you need gevura. And chesed might be bad for you. If all the child ever gets from his parent is chesed, and there's no gevura, there's no limits, so that you're going to turn out an absolute maniac, right? So the parents' chesed should be based on chesed sometimes, and also gevura sometimes, right? What's best for the child? What situation is the child in? What's the best way of me dealing with this situation for this child? That's gevura. Now that might mean chesed, but the ikar relationship is gevura. I'm trying to do what's best for this kid. Right? What does he need now? He needs to be sent to his room. Right? Well, that's what he needs. Or he needs a prize. He needs a prize. What's best for him? Depends on him. Chesed is my feeling. I want to do an act of chesed. I'm going to give him a prize. He just hit his little brother. I know, but I'm just feeling so warm and fuzzy. I want to give him a prize. Okay. Well, so chesed in Shinaf is a lower, though we talked about this before, chesed is less sophisticated than gevura. Chesed just blurs everything. Gevura is all about recognizing distinction. Chesed is blurring distinction. Chesed, the muscle in Chassidus, you put something in water and it just disappears. Chesed's water. It just disappears. Can't find it. The salt. Right? It just gone. Where's the salt? I don't know. It's gone. Can't see it. It's just enveloped in the oneness of the chesed. Gevura is a situation where you would be aware of all of the details. That's gevura. So that's emes. What's Tiferes? Emes Lamite, absolute truth. Okay, so now what's that in an emotion? Right? Compassion. I'm not relating to the person in terms of my understanding of where they are, Gevura, or my desire to show love, Chesed. Relating to the person in terms of complete identification with their plot, where their lot, where they are. That's Tiferes. The mashal that's brought in Chassidus in many places, Yishmael. Right? Yishmael's dying of thirst. Avram sent him away. Sent Hagar and Yishmael away. Yishmael is dying of thirst. The Eibishter wants to do a miracle to save him. What do the Malachim say? It's Rashi in Chumash. What do the Malachim say? Let him die. Why? First of all, he's a creep. Second of all, his descendants are going to cause the death by thirst of Yitzchak's descendants. So he's going to cause the Jews to die by thirst. So let him die by thirst right now. He deserves it. Malachim. In. Okay. What does the Eibishter say? Ba'asher husham b'diuk. Right now, where is he? Who is he? What's his lot right now? I feel his thirst. I'll give him water. Identify, it has nothing to do with me. It only has to do with him. Gevura is still, there's me. I'm doing the judging. The judging is relative to the other person's position, but I'm still the one judging. Chesed is me giving because I want to give. Tiferes is experiencing the other person's situation, completely and totally. So there's much less me there. And so that's emes lamita. Mitzad midas adin, end of Yishmael. Right? Mitzad midas a chesed, there's no cheshbon, just give him water. Right? Drown him in water. Right? Mitzad tiferes, emes lamita, is he chayiv misa right now? Where is he right now? He's thirsty. Give him water. Experience his thirst. Okay, so those are those three midas as midas, right? Now, those three midas can also be action. Tiferes can also be, this is all to come to the understanding of Tiferes. Tiferes is that compassion, but Tiferes can also be simcha. Why? Well, if the person's in a negative situation, I'll feel compassion. But what if the person's in a positive position? So I'll be besimcha because of his positive situation. Right? Which is real bittul. Right? Much easier to feel compassion than simcha. When things are good when things are bad for someone else, I'm such a nice person. I feel so badly for him. I just feel so badly for him. Oh my goodness gracious. What a never. When everything's going so well for him, without bittul, what do I feel? Jealous. Why not me? Why him? Well, I wish you'd point say, I hope he doesn't win the lottery again. I already won it once. But I was going to win it again? Oh man. Right? If there's real compassion will produce in that situation real simcha, right? If I feel for him, so I'll be mamish besimcha. Zayin simcha is mine simcha. His simcha is my simcha. Right? That's why sharing simchas with people is so important. Yeah, of course it's important to go sit, visit them when they're sitting shiva. That's also important, right? But sharing their simcha is also very important. Some people have a hard time doing that, sharing someone else's simcha.
Sad.
Yeah. So those are the three main midas, and that's in a continuation of what we're in the week of Tiferes. So that's why we went as far as Tiferes, because that's our week. What would Chesed should it be fair? chesed should the tiferes be yesterday, not today, right? Would be expressing in the mida context, feeling one with the person, and therefore expressing chesed, acting in a chesedic way towards this person because you were one with them, you feel their plight. Right? Negative or positive. Gevura shebechesed today, that your response to the person's situation will be gevura. That might either mean a certain harshness, that's what's necessary, that's what's best for them right now. Not what you want to do, it has nothing to do with you. And it's not your judging them, it's your feeling them. And so what's best, right, what would be best right now would be some expression of, discipline or certain harshness, right? Which is probably what they're challenging themselves to do right now, right? Or sometimes it's interesting because gvura, what can gvura be? Gvura also comes the word tigboret. The gvura is strength, right? So what might be an expression of gvura? What's called tigboret chesed, an even more powerful and even stronger expression of chesed. When you really truly feel the person's lot in life. True compassion. You feel their pain. Or their joy. Right? So that would be simcha. Okay. So that tiferes shebetiferes is a tough one. Like what's tiferes shebetiferes? So again, if tiferes is that compassion, so then you would act in a compassionate way based on your oneness with them. Okay, so but again, that's if it's a midah. Now, just again, but quickly, because we want to see what the Rebbe says here. The Rebbe is going to do this all explaining chesed as a midah, and you do something as a result of the midah. Okay, so therefore, the ikr is hidden. The midah is hidden. I don't see people's midahs. I see what they do as a result of the midah. So the chesed shebechesed, the first chesed will be what's revealed if chesed's the midah. Now there is, and this again, it seems to be based on the Mittel Rebbe. There is a way of explaining it all in the following way, which is not what the Rebbe is going to do, but I just want you to know it's out there because you might see it in different places. There's sort of a hint to it in the Rebbe here. Let's see, but that the second midah is not a midah; it's an action. So chesed shebechesed, the second chesed is an act of chesed. Stuck. Why did you do that? Because you were feeling love for the person. Why did you do that? Because you, al pi gvura, you judged the situation and realized he's deserving of this stuck. Tiferes, you feel his lot, so you gave him stucca. You're feeling his pain, so you gave him stucca. So the chesed, the second midah, is an act of chesed, or an act of gvura, which is often separation. Okay.
So chesed shebechesed
in that model
is when we say chesed shebechesed, it's the way chesed expresses itself with regards to chesed. When we say gevura shebechesed, it's chesed expressing itself with respect to
the action is an action of chesed, and that which is motivating the action is gvura. Okay. Now that's interesting. That means what you see is the second one, and what's hidden is the first one. No, but if the second now okay, so that's one way of explaining it. What again? We said this yesterday, but we'll say it again. What's difficult in that scheme? What's malchus shebeh? Because malchus is a deed. So what's the deed? The deed. Okay, if chesed is doing an act of chesed, then what's malchus shebeh chesed? I mean, malchus is doing, and chesed is doing. So how does that work? Okay, that's harder to explain. But other than that, that's actually easier to explain. To go through all 49 levels, it's easier to explain it as an action. Okay. Now the Rebbe is going to explain it as an emotion. Okay. So let's see. What's the emotion? That means chesed shebechesed is doing an act of chesed or experiencing a feeling of connection to something as a result of love. So what don't I see? I don't see the second part. I don't see the ikr, the mid of chesed. I see the result of it.
Wait, didn't we just say the opposite?
If chesed's an action, then I see the second one. If chesed's an emotion, then I don't see it because I don't see the emotion. I only see the result of the emotion. Right? You know what I'm saying? So these two schemes are opposite that way. Again, if the second midah is the action that comes as a result of something else, so chesed is giving tzedakah. Fine. So why did I give tzedakah? Chesed shebechesed. I love the person. Gevurah shebechesed. They deserve it. Tiferet shebechesed. I feel their hunger. Oh, so what do you see? The action. The second one. Chesed. What's driving it? I don't know. That's hidden. Why am I giving tzedakah? Because I love the person? Because I think he deserves it? Or I feel the person's pain? I don't know. I mean, I know, but you don't know. You watch me give the guy $1 bill. You don't know why I did that, but you saw the chesed. If chesed's a maisa, then you saw the chesed. You didn't see the chesed shebechesed or the gevurah shebechesed or the tiferet shebechesed. That you can't see. That's hidden. Okay. That's that scheme. Now, put that scheme on the shelf because the Rebbe is not going to learn it that way. The Rebbe is going to learn it a different way. I just want you to know there's such a way of explaining it. We're not going to see that here. We're going to see a different way here. The Rebbe is going to explain that the second word in the phrase is an emotion. The first word is that which results from that emotion. So chesed shebechesed is the chesed that results from chesed. The first one is the result. The second one is the hidden midah. So I don't see the ikr, the chesed. I only see the result of it. Okay, so now let's see it inside, and it'll make much more sense what I just said. Okay, so let's see it inside. Yuvan zeh midas chesed al derech Moshe. Shehi klula, that it incorporates all of the midas. The chesed shebechesed. Now, the Rebbe is talking about the nefesh elokis at this point. This is all nefesh elokis. The next paragraph will be nefesh habamis, and that's more humorous. If you can laugh at yourself. If you can't, it'll just depress you. Right? The chesed shebechesed, who kisharoya ech she'echad misasek b'limud Torah v'kiyum mitzvahs. When one sees how someone is involved in learning Torah and performing mitzvahs, b'limud Torah b'yirah shamayim, he's learning Torah with the fear of God. Yesh le'ave love. He feels love for this person. Feels connected to this person. He feels positively about this person. Why? Demitzad ahavase l'Hashem, because of the ikr ava, the second chesed, which is the love of the nefesh elokis for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. B'meila, consequently, hu oyev es oyev Hashem. He loves the one who loves what he loves. Chesed shebechesed. So what's the second chesed in the statement? Which is the ikr. It's always the ikr. His love for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What does that produce? Love for someone sitting and learning Torah. Someone showing love for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he loves it. Loves that person. Loves the idea. So what are you aware of? That's the first one. His positive relationship with this guy sitting and putting tefillin on people. Right? Right? He sees someone putting tefillin on people. He loves the Eibishter, so he goes up and gives that guy a kiss. He's just, wow. It's so good what you're doing. Right? Okay. What's a parent's emotional relationship with a teacher who's incredibly good to his child?
Love the teacher.
Loves the teacher. Has an incredibly positive relationship with that teacher. He'll remember that teacher for years. The kid will also remember the teacher for years, but the parent will also remember the teacher for years. Why? Well, he loves his kid. So he loves the teacher that takes good care of his kid. What will be his emotional relationship with a teacher who torments his child?
Okay.
Gevurah shebechesed. very negative emotional relationship with that person. Right? I don't like him. Now, the Rebbe's going to use the word hate, which has a bad rap. Right? Hate's bad. Well, depends what you hate. Right? Hating evil is not bad. As a matter of fact, if I don't hate evil, I've got a problem. Right? Loving my neighbor's wife is not good. Love is not necessarily good. It depends what I love. Hate is not necessarily bad. It depends what I hate. If I hate my neighbor's wife, well, yeah, I hate your neighbor's wife. I mean, just love her, but you don't have to hate her. Well, just don't talk to her. Okay. So now the Rebbe is going to use a somewhat, when we see the word hate, he's going to say, relative to Gvura, something pretty heavy. But okay, but now the Rebbe says something else, which is really interesting. In terms of Chesed Shebechesed, he does bring another example, which he doesn't do in any of the other midos, only in Chesed Shebechesed. V'chein hu mitzad avasei l'Shem, hinei kol inyonim mishayochim l'Torah and mitzvahs, as a result of his love for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, everything relevant to Torah and mitzvahs, oishes some bezuzas, he does them with alacrity, he does them with energy, because he loves the Eibishter. So Chesed Shebechesed will be the energy he has in doing mitzvahs because of his love for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it's interesting, the difference between the first and the second. The first is still an emotion relative to the other person. The second is how that'll express itself in action. He'll be very, very fastidious in doing mitzvahs. He'll make sure that he's doing that which has to be done, and he'll be very, very careful to not do those things which are not to be done. Okay. So that's Chesed Shuin and Chesed Shebechesed. Love, that is a result of love. The Iker is, again, now the second Chesed in the statement is a Midah. The love he feels for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not an action, it's a Midah. That's how the Rebbe is going to explain the whole thing. What? Emotion. Okay. So, the love of the Eibishter, that's the second Chesed, produces love for someone else. That's the first Chesed. Now, that love for someone else, I assume, will be recognizable. Ugvura Shebechesed, what's that? Who sha'avasei l'Shem, his love for Kadosh Baruch Hu, zog zich ois, will express itself. Zog is to say, ois is out. It says itself out. In other words, it expresses itself. B'kav hasheni, in the second kav, the second line, shemitzad avasei lavaya, as a result of his love for Kadosh Baruch Hu, seinis menagde avaya. He hates opponents of Hashem. Now, that obviously has to be understood in a certain context. What does that mean? He hates them. He hates opposition to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and he'll hate that person, but he's not going to hate that person to the extent he's going to blow up his house, right? But he's certainly not interested in that person getting anything that person wants relative to his opposition to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Can the person have a job? Yeah, sure. The person have a job and make a living. Why would I want him not to have a job and make a living? Why, I'm starved to death, God forbid. Right? But relative to his hitnagdut to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, I want him to fail miserably at that. He should see no success at that. All right? So he runs an organization. It's called the Against God organization. It should fail miserably. It should be in debt, bankrupt, and closed down by the government. Oh, why? No, because I'm not to each his own. No, free speech, it's okay, everybody's entitled to their opinion. No. You don't feel that way when every teacher is entitled to his opinion, and the fact that he can't stand your child and torments him in class, that's fine. Every teacher has, students he likes and students he doesn't like, and, it's okay. He's allowed to torment my kid. I get it. He uses my kid as an example to teach the other kids. I think that's just fine. No, I don't think that's just fine. not willing to put up with that at all. Why? Because I like my kid. Right? Now, hopefully, if he were to do that to another child, I'd also think that that's wrong. Why? Because hopefully I also have some positive feeling about other Jews as opposed to just my own child. Right? It's called Ahavas Yisrael as opposed to the love of my child. It's called the Ava for Jews in general. So I'm not so happy about that teacher tormenting other children. So even if he's not tormenting my kid, I might ask that he be dismissed. Okay. So that's Gevura. A very positive, negative emotional reaction to someone who's battling the Eibishter as a result of my love for the Eibishter.
Sorry, a very positive, negative?
No, a very powerful. Right? Very powerful, negative feeling towards that person and what they stand for. What does the Alter Rebbe say in Tanya? Very clearly, Tachlis asina sinasim. David Melch says with absolute hate him. What about your chaver who's doing something against the Eibishter? Was the Baal Tanya say you're supposed to do? Hate him. Mitzad that. Love him mitzad the fact that he's still a yid and you should do everything you can to try to get him into a better place. Okay, but relative to that particular aspect of his behavior, you hate it. You hate it and you hate him as the doer of that. But there's also part of you that loves him, right? Why? Yid, right? And if you have the ability to change him, you should change him. That doesn't mean that you overlook the negative aspects of it. An example of this in Shlichus, and this is a real challenge for Shluchim. Shluchim deal with people who have a very different lifestyle than theirs. And they have to be open-minded to the people, not to the lifestyle. You have to be open-minded to the lifestyle. You have to be open-minded to the you don't have to discuss the movies they watch. You have to be so open-minded that you watch the movie so you'll be able to talk about the movie. No, that's not your shlichus. Your shlichus is to be open-minded to them and to be completely accepting of them, but you hate their lifestyle. I think it's destructive and disastrous. Right? They're Machal Shabbos and they go to treif restaurants. That's a disaster. That doesn't mean you don't love them and completely accepting of them and understand why it is that they might do these things, but it's not in any way, shape, or form that you accept that as a reasonable lifestyle. It's not a reasonable lifestyle for a Jew. It's a disastrous lifestyle for a Jew. And you have to be very careful to walk that line. And that's a hard line to walk. Because it might be, I find it difficult to be accepting of the person without being accepting of their lifestyle. Now, it's not that I'm not accepting of their lifestyle. I mean, I don't allow them to do it. I mean, that's who they are and that's what they're doing, and there's nothing I can do about that right now. But not to think that lifestyle is something positive. Right? There's nothing positive about going out to a treif restaurant for a Jew. Non-Jews, perfectly reasonable. Not a problem. Good for him. Okay, but for the Jew, that's a disaster. Mm-hmm. And so it might be, and certainly understandable, right? That on a certain level, this person might have a lifestyle that I actually, now obviously I'm not talking about the eating in the treif restaurants and being Machal Shabbos, but now what if I get this person to a point where they're basically keeping Shabbos and they're eating kosher? Okay. So I might be jealous. It's Shiur, right? Shabbos, kashrus, taras mishpacha. So I just gave them Eilam Haba. And their Eilam Haba is so much better than mine that I might be jealous of this guy. Right? I mean, look where he's going for Pesach. Okay, I wouldn't eat there, but look where he's going for Pesach. My goodness. The 5-star hotel he's going to, all he does is close up his house. His maid cleans up whatever has to be cleaned up. He doesn't lift them. His wife doesn't lift the finger. They close the house and they go spend Pesach in some unbelievable 5-star resort and jet ski all day. Wow. Right? Okay, that looks pretty good. There, they were applauding that Pesach. Okay, right? So now, what's a real battle for that shaliach? It's a real nisayon. What's that shaliach have to realize? Hold on a second. That looks good. I get it. Why, mitzad my nefesh b'amis, that looks pretty good. But hold on a second. Why am I jealous of him? I'm going to be learning Chassidus and Rambam and Shaita, because it's Pesach, and I can learn a Maimon Chassidus. I can open it up and understand it. I can learn a page of Gemara, and I, know how to daven. And my kids, I have a couple of kids on shlichus. So my lifestyle might be a little more difficult and not as obviously, but it's healthier and it's good. But that might be a real challenge on shlichus, right? Because I look out there and I see that, this guy's got Elam Haba and Elam Hazeh. Right? He's got everything. Right? I gave him his Elam Haba, right? He's got his Shabbos and his Kashrus and his Tarz Mishpacha from me, and then I'm a Nebach, right? And look at his car, and look at my car, and look at his suit, and look at my suit, look at his house, look at my house. He's got it made. No.
Sounds like a serious donor.
Yeah, okay, he probably is, right? Okay, so he's probably a really good guy. I mean, look, Taka, Shabbos, Tarz Mishpacha, and Kashrus, that's pretty good, right? Okay. So would I trade places? Oh. My nefesh b'amis probably says, "Gee, I don't know, this looks pretty good over there." But when you sit down and really bring about it with your best friends, you say, "What are you, crazy? You're a chassid of the Rebbe. Look what you've got, Okay. So where's the lack? Where's the desire to change places coming from? What's missing in where? Love of the Eibishter. The second chesed is missing. The more I love the Eibishter, the more I won't fall into the trap where there's parts of something that I really shouldn't like that I'll like. Oh, so what am I missing? Gevura shebechesed. Why? Because it's not enough chesed. It's not enough love. And so since it's not enough love, so that I don't find the jet ski repulsive. If I love the Eibishter, I'd find jet skiing on Chol Hamoed repulsive. Because Chol Hamoed is not for jet skiing. That doesn't mean that guy's a bad guy. He's an amazing guy. But that's not what Chol Hamoed is all about. It's not about jet skiing. Right? Chol Hamoed is Chol Hamoed. It's holy. Right? Learn Hilchos Chol Hamoed. It's as much mayed as chol. Right? What are you allowed to do? What aren't you allowed to do? I mean, it's a holy time. But I'm not so into the holiness. Why not? Well, because I don't love God enough. And if I love God more, so then there would be more gvura relative to things that aren't godly. Okay, so that's gvura shebechesed. Just like what Yaakov said before in a different context, but in terms of chesed shebechesed, the guy who's sitting and learning Torah, what might I feel if I don't love God enough? Jealous, because he learns better than me. He's got more zitzfleisch than me. He's whatever, right? I'm jealous. If I love the Eibishter, and that's a hard one, right? If I really, really love the Eibishter, wow, look what the Eibishter's getting. It'd be like a parent being jealous of the teacher, because the kid loves the teacher. What are you, nuts? First of all, the kid doesn't love the teacher as much as he loves you, right? You're his father. But I guess I love myself more than I love my child if I'm more worried about the kid's that he likes the teacher more than he likes me. Well, you don't like the teacher more than he likes you. He might see the teacher more than he sees you, and I'm not faulting you that he's in class with the teacher 6 hours a day, and he sees you for 2 hours because you come home and he's in bed an hour or two later, right? Okay, he sees you on Shabbos, but you're his father. He's crazy about you. What are you nuts? Okay, but if I love myself more than I love him, I might be worried about that. So it has to be more chesed. Okay, the second chesed. So relative to the Eibishter. If I love the Eibishter, it's such a beautiful thing. The Rebbe said, if I love the Eibishter, I'll love the person who loves the Eibishter because he's bringing more godliness into the world, and that's what God wants. and I'll be very negatively disposed to the person who fights the Eibishter. That's Gvura Shebechesed. Let's see Tiferes. Tiferes Shebechesed. Huinyan Hisparadus Haba Miachesed. So here, as the secondary midah, the Rebbe relates to Tiferes from the, and this is definitely an aspect of Tiferes, the lashon of beauty in Tiferes. Because Tiferes is also beauty, and we talked about that yesterday. The Kishareya, when he sees Echad Loimid Torah, when he sees someone learning Torah with pleasure, Umekayim mitzvahs mit the Geshmak, and he's doing mitzvahs with the Geshmak. What does he experience? Who mispaer, he glorifies al hayofi, on the beauty Torah and mitzvahs, the beauty of Torah, the beauty of mitzvahs. And what is, and it's so interesting. Look at the next 4 words. Uvifel Torah can poilim, 5 words. What Torah can accomplish, meaning how this person who's learning Torah and doing mitzvahs has become such a refined person by virtue of Torah allowing him a relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So his love for Kadosh Baruch Hu will bring him to a point where he appreciates the beauty of Torah. And it's interesting. The Rebbe is talking about the beauty of Torah in terms of how the Torah can affect another person. So it also can affect him, right? But he's seeing it expressed in another person. So he's not jealous of that other person. He sees the beauty of the Torah that has allowed that other person to become such a special person. A person who learns and davens, and just a simchadik person, a good person. The kol zeh, all this, uikare amida shebechesed. So again, the main need is the Ava, and the expression of that is either in Ava, or in Gvura, or in Tiferes. That's the first of the seconds. V'cheinu gam ba'anfei midas, also with the branches of the Midah. So now what's Netzach? Netzach means victory. We'll see. Netzach is, on a more general level, the willingness to fight for something. That's Netzach. Now you emerge victorious because you're willing to fight for it. The willingness to fight for something. Now that means you're overcoming an obstacle. You're willing to fight for it. Let's see how the Rebbe explains that. The Netzach shebechesed hu Hashem mitzad avasei lavai, as a result of his love to Hashem, because that's the Iker. The Iker is still chesed. Hine kesheyeshna meinim uma'akvim, when there are obstacles relative to expressing his love for Kadosh Baruch Hu, or obstacles to a Kadosh Baruch Hu getting that which a Kadosh Baruch Hu wants in Eilam Hazeh. It can be either personal or general. Right? There's people who are opposing the worship of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, who loichem in imam minag. He fights them. Netzach is the willingness to go get into the battle, as opposed to I'm fine, I'm okay, I'm taken care of, so everything's okay. No, the love produces a desire to go fight the opposition. Again, how you fight the opposition, that doesn't mean you go beat them up, hit them with baseball bats. That means you do everything you can to lessen opposition to godliness in the world. Right, okay. That's Netzach shebechesed. As a result of your love for Kadosh Baruch Hu, you'll do whatever is necessary to fight the Eibishter's battles in Eilam Hazeh. You'll see the battle as your battle, because you love the Eibishter. Dezeu in your Netzach shebechesed. V'oid yeser, even further, what's hoid? Hoid is often, hoid is also a word of glory. And hoid, we're going to see, the Rebbe is going to explain hoid shebahoid at great length, because Lag B'Omer is hoid shebahoid, and this is a Lag B'Omer Maimer, and so when the Rebbe gets to Lag B'Omer, he describes hoid shebahoid at length. Right? And hoid is, as a midah itself, it's humility. Hoda'ah. Right? Ani modeh. Right? Okay. But in this context, the Rebbe is going to talk about hoid as being what could be understood as stubbornness. right? And we're going to see it's the battle against internal opposition as opposed to external opposition. External opposition, that's netzach. Internal opposition, that's going to be hoid. Right? So now you could see it in the same way, or you could see it as a certain stubbornness not to be swayed from what I understand to be proper. In this context, as a result of my love for Baruch Baruch, I don't let my Nefesh HaPamis get in the way. I fight him. I'm stubborn. Yeah?
Does the Rebbe actually say the words Hayit Shebeh Chesed? Or is it just the Oid Yeser?
No, we're going to see it right now. V'oid Yeser, shegam kasher Yesis nagdus mi b'chutz. Right? When there's I'm sorry, the other way around. I apologize. All right. I'm sorry. Netzach is internal, Hoid is external. I apologize. I'm sorry. Netzach is internal opposition, Hoid is external opposition. But Netzach is still the willing to fight, and Hoid is the stubbornness relative to the others. I'm sorry. Void Yesir, the Gam Kesher Yesh, his nagnus mi b'chutz, opposition from outside, ve'ein loy koyach. He doesn't have the energy. Kerabim kamim alai. David HaMelech says there's so many people fighting me. Mikol moker. This is the stubbornness to not give up. Mitzad avasei lavaya hine gam kichiyeshna menim u'ma'akvim. Even if there are external opposition and external monea means to prevent. Ma'akev means to like withhold. Hine hu menatseach es atzmei. He emerges victorious over himself. In other words, he finds in himself the energy lahasir es amiyos, to remove the external obstacles. Dezeu hoid shebechesed. That's hoid shebechesed. So I apologize. Netzach is internal. Hoid is external. Internal opposition, external opposition.
So Hayit is actually...
They're both fighting. They're both fighting. I'm fighting internal opposition. I fight the Yetzer Hara because of my love for the Eibishter, or I'm completely stubborn in my adherence to Torah and mitzvahs despite the external opposition. That's Hoid. So fighting the Russian is Hoid Shebechesed. Fighting my own Yetzer Hara is Netzach Shebechesed. Okay? I'm sorry I mixed you up. So what's Yesod? So Yesod is always connection. Yesod is about connection. And that's the middle ground, right? As we said, Tiferes, what's Tiferes? It's compassion. That's the most powerful connection to the other person. Yesod is mamish, the idea of connecting to something, right? So that produces malchus, which is thought, speech, and action in that thing. Right? So what's Yesod? Yesod shebechesed hu shegam kasher mitzad eizet tam, that even though, as a result of some reason, ein loy meshicha l'Torah mitzvahs, he doesn't feel drawn to Torah mitzvahs, doesn't feel connected to Torah mitzvahs. Mikol mokem, hine mitzad avasei lavaya, as a result of his love for Kadosh Baruch Hu miskasher b'zeh, he connects to this, b'chol tenuis nafshe, with all the movements of his soul, ad shemis'ader b'tshuka l'Torah mitzvahs, until he's aroused a tremendous longing for Torah mitzvahs. That's Yesod. Yesod is that hit kashrut.
The longing.
Shuka is longing. Hit kashrut is connection. The longing comes as a result of the connection. So the Yesod is connection. Yesod is always about. Okay. Ad, what does that bring about? Malchus. What's Malchus? The connection brings about Ad shekol machshava dibur ma'aseh, until all of his thought, speech, and action shaloi hu rak b'Torah mitzvahs. He's only in Torah mitzvahs. Shuni Malchus shebechesed. His love for Kadosh Baruch Hu is so great that all he thinks about, and all he talks about, and all he does is Eibishter. So he loves the Eibishter so much. Right? What is the immediate source of that? So yes, it's the love, right? It's the chesed, right? But Yesod Shebechesed gives birth to Malchus Shebechesed. What's Yesod Shebechesed? His love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings about an unbreakable connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Feels connected. That's Yesod. That produces thought, speech, and action. What's he connected to? What does he care about? That's what he connected to. Now the Rebbe says, similarly, just like midas chesed contains within it all the midas, similarly, so every midah, gevura. Now, how exactly to then extrapolate from this to all of the other midas is difficult, because the midah in its form as the main principle might be slightly different than the midah in its form as the secondary part of the equation. Because Tiferes, yes, Tiferes is beauty, that's true, but Tiferes is going to be compassion. Right? What's Tiferes relative to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Relative to another person, I get it, compassion. What's Tiferes relative to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Right? The feeling of oneness with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu that comes from the awareness of his presence in our midst, completely and totally. In Tanya, it's Levi, Reuven, Shimon, Levi. So what's Levi? Levi is connection, oneness. Well, what's the name Levi? To accompany you. Yelave Ishi, my husband will now be with me, Leah says. So she calls her third son Levi, right? The one who's with me, one who brings my husband to me. My husband's not with me, right? Okay, she's done her part. 4 imams, 12 tribes. She's got 3. Okay. She's going to have more. But at that point, she talks about Yilavi Ishi, that my husband will be one with me, right? And that's that's Tiferes. Tiferes is compassion, and the Alter Rebbe talks about that coming as a result of histaklus, seeing elukus. That if you see elukus, you feel one with elukus. That would be Tiferes relative to the Eibishter. Which is quite astounding. Compassion relative to another person, I get. I feel one with him, but I don't feel one with the Eibishter. No, I don't know why. If I truly see Elokus, I can feel one with the Eibishter. So we'll stop early, which will be tshuva for all those days that we stopped late. We'll stop 2 minutes early, which will do tshuva for the hours and hours and hours that I've kept you in this room. If you add up all of those 5 and 10 minute chunks of time over the year, and so I'll do tshuva now for all of them. Wow, that's cool. Rosh Chodesh is Zman Kapara. So it's Rosh Chodesh, so we'll stop a little early and we'll see the Nefesh Bahamis tomorrow. Pleasure. Thought, speech, and action. Malchus Shebechesed is the actual action of it all. It's the conscious expression of it all. Why? So my thought, speech, and action will be about God. Why? Because I love Him.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Shabbat, Dibur, Maseh. Thought, speech, and action.
And Rabbi, you said he started with seeing Elokus, and
You need a reminder.
As a result of seeing Elokus, I'll feel one with Him. I mean, the Rebbe's not talking about that here.
said it in
brought it
Shul.
up. That's Tiferes.
Were you in Shul on Saturday?
Tiferes in the Midah
Moshe.
is my compassion to another person. I feel one with that. I feel that person's joy. I feel that person's pain. So what's that with the Eibishter? When I feel his joy, I feel his pain. What does that mean? It means that I feel one with him. How do that can be? I see godliness in everyone.
like feeling of giving him all, or
No. It's not a matter of giving. It's a matter of what I'm feeling. Right? I'm not giving. What I'm giving, there's also going to be giving as a result. I was just asking the question.